My name is Ryan Findley. If you know me, it's probably from here because I haven't gotten out much lately otherwise. NeoMine Labs is, these are going to be online at speakerdeck.com and YouTube. NeoMine Labs is my company. We are stewards of custom software. Currently, we specialize in Ruby on Rails and nothing else. No blockchain stuff yet. Maybe 2019. So I gave basically this presentation last year. I went through that and I grabbed everything that we covered last year and then updated it for this year. As was true then, I'm nowhere near an expert in all this stuff. I tried to do a high-level survey of the field. So if you have any additions or corrections, please interrupt at any point. As Ben mentioned, one of our big motivations for starting this group was to be able to get better information. And I think we accomplished that and are continuing to accomplish that. So number one is shout out to Ben's newsletter, Build Blockchain Tech. I don't think you have those on the web. I think you just email them.
I don't. I really need to get that on the website. Wait, you don't have them on your website? I don't have the newsletter on the website. No, it's on my to-do list.
So I know. So I'm not kidding here. I think this is the most valuable source of information about blockchain stuff that I have. I actually have stopped going onto Reddit because it's this echo chamber of people like trying to pump up the value of things they own. There's a bunch of different subreddits. There's like too many now to keep up with it all. And Ben's newsletter hits on like whatever has happened in the last week or two that's interesting on the subreddit that you forgot to check.
I did pay Ryan to say that.
No, he didn't, and he's turning red. It's really good. I'm not kidding. You should subscribe to it. It's like the. Yeah, that would be. I mean, I'm asking people to name some at the end, so we can write them down. Maybe we could organize it into an event. Shout out to white papers on Slack. There was another one posted there this week, and it's so great to have real people that have really read it and have read the white paper and like will debate it with you. And give an opinion about it. And sometimes people will just say this one's BS and it's just basically this one but with this on top, and it saves me, tens of minutes of reading. And shout out to everyone who shows up and engages with the community, because a year ago I was doing this presentation remembering how I felt a year ago, not really knowing how this was going to go and who was going to be interested and what kind of people there would be to debate with. And now I feel like we have that resource where there's these people that are really real people who have opinions that I can understand that are based in reality, whether or not I agree with them all the time. And we can have healthy debate about what's happening with this technology. So I think that's great. Thank you, everyone. One of the things I did last year was I had an image that had the logo of every currency that existed, and that doesn't exist anymore because there's too many. There used to be almost 1,300. Now there's almost 2,100. And doing this the first time through, I misread last year's number as 3,000, and I thought a bunch had gone away, and I thought that was super interesting. And then Ben was like, that's not right, and then I realized it wasn't right. But I still had the question, does anyone know of any coins that are dead, like that went away? And is there a listing of any? I mean, aside from the bitcoinobituaries.com, where they talk about how many times Bitcoin has been declared dead, are there any coins that have like people have said, you know what, that was a terrible idea, I'm going to turn it off? Like I think I read a while ago that the Dogecoin creator walked away from it because he thought it was a terrible idea, but then he came back and it's still around and other people are still running it, even though, yeah, there hasn't been a release to master for over 3 years.
Deadcoins.com.
Okay, thank you. Great.
Yeah, there are a whole bunch that are dead, and I think I just pulled it up again. It also now has a list of confirmed exit scams. So that's
so deadcoins.com and it lists exit scams.
Yeah.
Confirmed exit scams. That's great. I'm repeating for the recording.
There's 929 on here, by the way. So.
That's great. So next slide, anyone keeping track? So deadcoins.com. I predicted things were going to keep getting more complicated. I think anyone could have predicted that, but it's definitely going that way. one thing we don't usually talk about that I just wanted to touch on because it's ridiculous and interesting. So you saw Ben's graph about the price difference, but year to date, yesterday, Bitcoin was up 3%. Good return, right? For a year. Yeah, right. Ethereum was down 36, but if you look at this number, it's nothing compared to where things were, and Litecoin's down 13%. That math doesn't seem right. No, that's right. That's right. And another shout out to Ben's Coin Recap Daily Price newsletter because it has allowed me to stop checking prices and trying to remember what the price was last time I checked, because the 24-hour total seems to just be a moving 24-hour total. So it's really hard to know how much the price moved since the last time I checked it. And all I have to do is check my 8 a.m. email from Coin Recap Daily, and I can see what the price was like every day for the last week without having to wonder or try to find a graph that is sliding around. And so awesome, super helpful, and it lets you discover new coins because it shows you the top 5 and bottom 5 performers, and they're usually some shitcoin you never heard of, but they move a lot, so it's interesting. I found this. Somebody was able to generate audio data from the price history, and I'm going to see if it plays. I thought this was really interesting.
Is that on, right?
Oh wait. Sorry, I saw it yesterday and I couldn't resist putting it in. It totally tricked me. I thought it was going to be just that the whole way through. So one of the things, Ben and I, when we started this group, we assumed there were going to be like a lot of smart contract platforms that were active and in use, and we started looking into it, and there weren't really. At this event a year ago, we learned of a couple. I think Neo was one of them. Some of these are more Googleable, but I'm sure I'm missing some. For example, I think Hashgrass probably qualifies, but that's maybe on my post-blockchain slide. I think these are interesting because they're people trying to bolt smart contracts onto Bitcoin, the rootstock and the counterparty. But they're sort of vaporware because you can't use them on the real, like you can't send real money with them yet. Ethereum, right at the top, obviously, it's the real deal. It's the smart contract platform that's the real one. I think Neo and EOS you can send real money with. I think they're real platforms, but they're also their own currency, so they have the network, adopter problem.
There's one called Open Law that's a spoke of consensus.
Open Law?
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Ethereum-based.
Oh, it's based on Ethereum?
They make standardized legal contracts that are smart contracts on Ethereum.
Oh,
But Neo
cool.
and EOS are also smart contract platforms.
So Neo, I think I wrote a note and then lost it to put next to it about what was interesting.
Doesn't Cosmos have their own one?
Cosmos?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know that one.
Private one with 15
Thanks, Ben.
Like China and Alibaba or something.
Oh, Neo. Wait. I think I got them confused. I thought it was EOS that could be programmed with .NET, Java, Kotlin, Go, and Python.
That sounds right.
But I wrote down Neo.
Maybe they both can.
I think it's one of them. But rootstock is interesting because these two generate contracts that are compatible with Ethereum. So they would run on the Ethereum VM, but rootstock embraced and extended. So they actually have extra opcodes that aren't compatible but you could run your Ethereum code on rootstock, but you can't run your rootstock code on Ethereum.
You have Ethereum smart contracts now, Hyperledger.
So Hyperledger does it too?
Yeah. Hyperledger can take Ethereum smart contract.
Cool. That should probably have been a whole slide. That probably should have been a whole slide of its own about places you can run Ethereum smart contracts. 2019, yeah. 2019.
They just announced it a couple weeks ago.
Oh, cool. Thank you. So you guys are great. The Lightning Network was an idea the last time, like a year ago when we started this. Shortly after, the first mainnet transaction happened, and then the mainnet release was in March, and now there's almost 4,000 nodes and 11,000 channels. There are 3 different implementations written in 3 different languages. I think it's Java, Scala, and Go. I got that wrong. Rust and thank you. Which is really awesome because that means there's a good spec that they're all complying with. The problem with it currently is if you send above cents to dollars, apparently there's an issue finding a path through all the open channels, because if people are not online but they're published as available, it can be difficult to find a pathway through enough nodes that have enough money to send what you want to send. So if I read this thing properly while I was doing my research, I think they said 2 cents was the highest amount guaranteed to go through 100%. And then from there, it gets to like $400 is basically impossible. I would say though, that's a problem, but I think that's like an early adoption problem. I think when there's more money locked up in Lightning channels, it'll be easier to send more money. But also, I think one of the use cases for Lightning is microtransactions. So I don't think it's a huge problem right now, but if it's still that way in a year, we probably have a problem. One of the other things, the next thing that we were talking about a year ago now was Sidechains, which I don't think anyone is doing this or using this for anything yet, but the ones on the Ethereum network seem like they might actually be usable right now. Does anyone know if anyone's using Sidechains for anything right now? Like, I mean, if it's possible to transact on Sidechains and then have it be merged back in. So let's say you wanted to make a sidechain for, I don't know, your own chat room or something, right? But have it be pegged to the Ethereum blockchain. I don't think anyone's done that yet, but
The guy from Infura was here in like June or July.
Mhm.
We talked on that a little bit, and at the time I didn't think there would. we had talked even about using like the test nets as side chains still. So
yeah.
as of June, I don't think so.
Okay. I think this is a really promising idea for trying out new, like I think originally it came up as a way to deal with Bitcoin's unwillingness to add new features quickly, the idea that you could use other currencies and sidechains to try things out, but still have the main chain doing consensus.
So I'll add what I know. So Rootstock, I believe, is live, but I have heard very little about it and if there's been any adoption or anything. So I assume there hasn't been too much. And then something that just in the last month or so made a little bit of a splash was, again on Bitcoin, was something called Liquid Network, which is a sidechain, but it is a little bit controversial because it does have some kind of compromises towards centralization. I think there's some like trusted nodes or semi-trusted nodes or something in the system. I don't pretend to know all the details, but it is live now and functioning on the mainnet. So.
Great. I thought that the Bitcoin sidechains needed some more Bitcoin improvement protocols implemented before they could be like, maybe there's a way to do a one-way peg and not a two-way peg.
So I think that's part of the problem. The opcodes that are currently supported on Bitcoin make it difficult or impossible to do this in a fully decentralized way.
Got it. Okay.
That's my understanding.
Thank you. Masked Merkleized abstract syntax trees was a pull request that I was super excited about earlier this year when it was submitted, but it was rejected in September. I recently found out while doing my research for this. It looked like some people brought up a bunch of questions in February, in the January-February timeframe, and nobody answered for the whole year. And then someone said, "Well, let's try again when this is cleaned up," and rejected it. So this was I think this would bring a lot of new features. It'd bring the possibility of a lot of new features to the dumber blockchains like Bitcoin and Litecoin and Dogecoin that Ethereum probably can already do. There was a lot of privacy news in the last week, which you would know if you're on Ben's newsletter. Bulletproofs was something that I think was around a year ago, but it was kind of new. It if I remember correctly, lets you hide the amounts of the transactions, but not the identities of the transaction. Monero has another way to do that, to hide the identities, and it just upgraded the amount hiding to bulletproofs, which is apparently...
Stanford created bulletproofs. A group of professors at Stanford created bulletproofs. I think, I don't know what happened with the partnership between Monero and bulletproofs. I think it was just they just activated
Adopted it, yeah.
adopted it. I don't know what the payment structure was like, but it was created at Stanford.
Cool. I think they had a less, I think bulletproofs is a faster, better way to do what they were already doing, so they just said, yeah, we're going to do it that way.
It's not just financial payments too. You can do it with just like data shares.
So you can hide, you can hide the data that's, and usually the data is amounts being transacted, but it could be anything.
It could be anything. Yeah.
Oh, cool, okay. That's neat. So they did that on mainnet last week, and then Zcash launched, I think Sunday, so this week. And there's an article that I found that basically called ZK Snarks the only practical way to completely unlink the identities engaged in a digital currency transaction, which is simultaneously interesting and horrifying, scary to me. I mean, they did it. I think it's only a matter of time before people adopt and use completely anonymous transactions, and that's like a different world, I feel like. So that's, a little bit scary. The post-blockchain category, I think, needs to have Hashgrass added to it, because it looks like they're not a blockchain, and they mention problems with blockchains that they've overcome. In my mind, at least, these are kind of experimental, but I believe they're real, real mainnet. You can send real money through them. I don't know how much volume people are pushing through and what people are doing with it yet. They haven't come across my news feeds much, and I haven't had a chance to play with them. I think I started to read the IOTA white paper, and it seemed like a good idea, but I think I don't know enough and have enough time to properly evaluate when people say they've solved the proof of work issue. So I usually take that as a sign that I'll let other people tell me if that's good or not. Other things, all this other things used to be one slide, so stuff has happened and I expanded on it a little bit, but the end of it was basically the simplicity language, I think, was meant to be integrated with Coke proofs, so you could formally prove your smart contract or parts of it and know that there were no bugs. I think it seems like the techniques for doing that have improved, and it seems like people are doing that without the simplicity language. Like they've found a way to write the proofs and then translate them into Solidity. There are also companies now that sell contract auditing. Like if you Google it, there's like almost half a dozen companies paying for ads to sell you services to audit your smart contracts.
There's also an automated website. I can't remember the name right now. I can post it though, but you just paste your Solidity code into it, and it'll highlight issues like automated.
Oh, that's great. So there's an automated tool that you can paste your code into.
I can share that.
That'd be great. Thanks. What else did I miss with other miscellaneous?
What time you got?
Yeah, not a lot. I don't know. I forgot my watch today, and none of these things have clocks on while they're presenting, but I think I'm okay. There'll be more opportunities for feedback if you think of something. Oh yeah, this is something I wanted to throw to you guys. So last year I had a couple of things that I presented as good resources to get started, and I felt like they're kind of aging. I still recommend that people read the Bitcoin white paper because I think it's one of the more simple introductions because things have continued to get more and more complex. I also sometimes try to get people to read about Git because the Git internals PDF by Peepcode from years ago gives a really good visual description of basically a blockchain with commits that have a hash and all of that. And I think it's a good sort of on-ramp. The Peepcode Git internals PDF, I think it's from 2009. But it basically has images of blockchains that are a Git repository. You can almost think of it as like if you were keeping transactions in text files and you had a proof of work difficulty of 0, Git's kind of almost Bitcoin.
I think there is a book called Blockchain for Geeks
Okay.
And it's adopted. There is a version from IBM for this book,
It's blockchain for geeks.
and it's from the website of IBM.
Thank you.
Consensus Academy has it's an online course that you can apply to, and they accept like I think 200 people per semester, and they do a boot camp on Solidity development and the inner workings of the Ethereum virtual machine. I went through it, and it was really awesome, and I highly recommend it to anyone. And they seem to be doing them at a higher pace now because they just started the third one after the second one just ended. So I think that they're going to be doing them every quarter. You're free to apply, like anyone can apply to it.
I forgot about this, but I'm gonna repeat that. You said Consensus Academy
Yeah.
has an online course.
Put at least $1,000 to you.
But they also have scholarships available.
So it's not free, but they have scholarships.
This guy from Delaware, guy from this meetup got one.
Yeah, Lewis, right?
John May.
Oh, okay.
I was in it, but it didn't cost anything the first time.
Cool.
Eat Research is a good website.
What is it?
Eat Research.
You want to hold this?
Oh.
Oh, no. You got it? Okay.
Yeah, it's just the website. They talk about like all the technical, like plasma and sharding.
I'm just gonna repeat what you guys say and write it down. ETH Racers?
Research.
Research. Okay.
You could post some real, right?
ETH Research. Yes.
So it's not .com. It's research at the end before ch. It's .c.
Oh, I see. Great. ETH Research with a dot before the CH. Okay.
This week in Ethereum is always a really good one. It's by a Philly guy too.
Yeah?
It was fun.
What was that, sorry?
Evan Van Ness.
Evan Van Ness is at a consensus, but he's from Philly.
Oh, great.
Yeah, really good.
Another resource, Let's Talk Bitcoin. It's a network of podcasts. So they have different podcasts, but like the Let's Talk Bitcoin podcast is very good, and distributed dialogues. There's a bunch of them on there that are good.
Great. Let's Talk Bitcoin is a network of podcasts, and you said what's the other one? Distributed.
Within that network,
Oh.
there are many like shows.
There are many shows in it. Okay.
If you go to the Let's Talk Bitcoin homepage, you'll see all the different shows.
Okay. Let's Talk Bitcoin homepage has many shows. Got it.
Proof of work. The proof of work email list is I read every week. It goes over the majority of protocols and with Ethereum ledger, Bitcoin, whatever it is. They even do like a section on phone space primarily too. That's a huge.
That's great.
overview. I love that one.
The proof of work email list. It covers all kinds of technologies.
The block is pretty good.
The block.
What? What's the link? If you just go proof of work resources, you will. And then crypto AM.
Crypto AM.
One word.
Two podcasts that I listen to by a woman named Laura Shin. One's called Unconfirmed and the other one's called Unchained.
Great.
I get them confused, but one of them is an hour and one of them's about 20 or 30 minutes, and she puts them out, I think, once a week.
Great. Thank you.
It's a broad spectrum. It's all kinds of things.
Ben?
One meta suggestion. There's a guy named Jameson Lopp. He's a Bitcoin developer. He has the website lopp.net, lopp.net, and there's a sub. In the menu you'll find a section on Bitcoin resources. So it's a really huge, well-organized, kind of curated list of resources. Everything from podcasts, courses, books, tutorials, all kinds of stuff. Definitely very Bitcoin centric, but at all levels and kind of, like I said, very well annotated.
Mhm.
And then there's a podcast that I listen to. It's called Quant Layer Podcast, QUANT Layer Podcast. Actually, just a couple of guys that I got connected with somehow. I can't remember how. But they're developers, but one of them has a trading background, so it's technical focused, but then like interspersed with that like a trader's kind of financial financial perspective, which is interesting, obviously, because of that aspect of it.
So the Quant Layer podcast.
Yep.
Great.
There's another one. It's called Chain Letter from MIT Tech Review. Yeah. That's a pretty. I think they do daily ones too during the week. They do, but they're really informative.
These are great. Thanks, guys. Good. I got like a page here. This is great. I got to put these online somewhere so we don't lose this. But it's really going to just sit in my bag probably for a week, probably for a year.
Share it to all of us.
I'll pull it up next year for the presentation.
Make the way picture.
Yeah, I'll put it on Snapchat. I'll take a picture. Yeah. Yeah. So I think Ben sort of asked this question already, so I'm not sure I'm going to get much more out of you guys on this. But what other topics should we cover? I like it.
I know you said no, you guys wanted to avoid politics at the beginning of the slide, but there's so much in the decentralized movement outside of the tech aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if we want to bring in non-tech people, people that are not like going to be coding smart contracts. Some of the political ethos behind decentralization is core to the movement in general, and might be a good thing to cover, even if it is a sensitive political topic.
I think you get into gray areas pretty quickly because almost everything's been politicized. So I think we should at least consider.
It might be its own thing. It might need to be separate.
Yeah.
I think we're definitely
I think it's a gray area, and we should consider.
Yeah, so we're definitely open to those kinds of topics. Like we had a talk, actually Andrew Bull gave a talk on regulation of blockchain related stuff. The joke that I've made before, but it's actually a good rule of thumb, is that anything that's going to get me and Ryan put on like an FBI watch list, that's what we want to stay away from.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean like it can't be how government and blockchain intersect and those kinds of things. So.
Well, I think the author we had speak, was it last month or 2 months ago? Glenn Wild, yeah. That got a little bit political, but I thought we kept it respectful.
Yeah, totally. And that's another rule of thumb for the group is like we want it to be respectful and like welcoming. We don't want to, we don't want to take strong political stances or anything that are going to make people feel uncomfortable because that's just not what this meetup is.
It's not about, yeah, it doesn't foster debate.
Right. I
Yeah.
think it's great that he works at Microsoft.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like.
All right. Anything else? Going once? Going twice? All right, my last slide is just a reminder.
Cosmos.
Cosmos?
It's like sort of centralization, but they kind of decentralize.
I'll write it down. Cosmos. Tuesday's election day. Vote. Speaking about not political. I didn't tell you who to vote for, so it's okay.